Chosen one, sit down for a moment. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this like another passing message. Heaven did not interrupt your attention for something small, and your spirit already knows there is weight on these words. Something is shifting. Something is moving. Something that has been sealed for a long time is now being opened. Take a breath. Let your shoulders drop. You have been carrying more than people can see. You kept moving when your soul was tired, and you kept smiling while something inside you whispered that your life could not stay the same much longer. That whisper was not fear. It was discernment. God is about to change everything in your life. Not one small corner. Not one tiny detail. Everything that has been out of alignment is being touched, and everything that could not follow you into your next season is beginning to loosen its grip. That is why you feel strange. That is why your heart feels awake and heavy at the same time. You have sensed it lately. People around you may not understand it. They may think you are quiet, distant, moody, or hard to reach. But something deeper is happening. Your spirit has been pulling away from old noise, old conversations, old attachments, and old rooms that used to feel normal. What once entertained you now drains you. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming clear. You are not losing your mind. You are losing your tolerance for anything that keeps your soul in a smaller place than God designed. The version of you that survived everything was necessary, but that version cannot carry the fullness of what is coming next. This is why heaven is asking you to sit down. Not because terror is coming, not because punishment is waiting. Sit down because the announcement is too big for the old you to hear while rushing, scrolling, multitasking, and pretending you are fine. God wants your full attention because your life is being recalibrated. You have been feeling that pull in your chest. You wake up and something feels unfinished. You go through your day and still feel like your spirit is standing at a doorway you cannot see. Even when nothing dramatic happens outside, something inside keeps saying, "Stay alert, stay still, something is about to turn." That feeling is not random. It is not just emotion. It is not just stress. It is the sound of your inner world responding before your outer world catches up. Heaven often moves in the unseen before anything changes in your bank account, your home, your relationships, or your visible routine. Chosen one, you have been noticing signs. Maybe certain names keep returning. Maybe old memories rise suddenly. Maybe you keep seeing repeated numbers, hearing certain phrases, or waking before sunrise with your heart already alert. These are not empty coincidences. They are markers. They are reminders. They are signals along the road. And yet, the strongest sign has not been outside you. It has been inside you. You no longer fit where you used to shrink. You no longer laugh at what secretly wounded you. You no longer want to explain yourself to people who only listen long enough to misunderstand you again. That change is holy. For a long time, you thought the delay meant denial. You thought the silence meant God was far away. You thought closed doors meant you had failed some hidden test. But listen carefully. The delay was not proof of rejection. The silence was not proof of absence. The closed door was not proof that heaven had forgotten you. The delay was preparation. The silence was protection. The closed door was mercy. God was not keeping good things from you because you were unworthy. He was keeping certain things away until your spirit could receive them without breaking under the weight. Your next season is not small. It requires a stronger vessel. That is why the last season felt so strange. You were not just waiting. You were being stretched. You were not just tired. You were being emptied of patterns that made exhaustion feel normal. You were not just isolated. You were being separated from voices that could not speak to the future God placed inside you. You cried in private and still showed up. You carried family weight and still prayed for others. You helped people who never asked if you were okay, and you gave strength while your own spirit was whispering for rest. Heaven saw every part of it. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was unseen. Your kindness was recorded. Your obedience was recorded. Your restraint was recorded. Every time you could have become bitter but chose silence, heaven wrote it down. Every time you could have exposed someone but chose peace, God saw the maturity forming in you. That maturity is part of the change. This message is not coming to flatter you, it is coming to wake you. There is a difference. Flattery feeds the old identity, but awakening calls the true identity forward. God is not trying to make you feel important for a moment. God is reminding you who you were before pain taught you to hide. You were never ordinary. You tried to act ordinary because being different cost you too much. You lowered your voice. You softened your dreams. You made yourself useful so people would not notice how much light you carried. But heaven never confused your humility with weakness. Heaven always knew what was inside you. That is why the enemy worked so hard to make you tired. Not because your life was meaningless, not because your prayers were powerless. The enemy attacked your clarity because clarity is dangerous when it returns to a chosen vessel. A tired chosen one can still survive, but a clear chosen one begins to move mountains. You have been in a fog, but the fog is lifting. You have been second-guessing yourself, but the confusion is losing authority. You have been wondering if you missed God, but God is about to show you that even your detours were gathered into the plan. Nothing escaped His hand. Do you remember who you were before disappointment trained you to expect less? There was a version of you that believed quickly, learned quickly, sensed deeply, and noticed what other people missed. That part of you did not die. It was buried under survival, pressure, betrayal, and years of carrying battles you were never meant to carry alone. That buried part is being called again. The clarity is being called again. The courage is being called again. The holy sensitivity that people mocked is being called again. God is not only changing your circumstances, He is restoring the inner frequency that allowed you to recognize divine movement before the world could explain it. This is why certain things have been falling away. God is not punishing you by removing what you were attached to. He is making space for what requires your full attention. Some people could walk with the wounded version of you, but they cannot walk with the awakened version of you. Do not chase what is leaving. Do not beg old doors to reopen. Do not keep proving your worth to people who benefited from your confusion. When God changes everything, He often begins by changing what you can no longer tolerate. Your appetite changes first. Your environment follows later. You may feel lonely right now. That does not mean you are abandoned. It means heaven has cleared the room. It means your spirit is being trained to hear God without the crowd. It means your next instruction cannot compete with the noise of people who only know the version of you they could control. There is a sacred loneliness that comes before divine elevation. Moses had it. David had it. Joseph had it. Even when people were around them, something inside them knew they were being prepared for a place no one else could enter with them. You are walking that same kind of passage. So stop calling this season strange. Call it sacred. Stop calling yourself behind. Call yourself hidden. Stop calling the silence empty. Call it preparation. God has been doing more in the quiet than your eyes could measure, and what seemed like nothing was actually a deep restructuring of your life. The old rhythm is breaking. The old fear is breaking. The old need for approval is breaking. The old habit of shrinking before you speak is breaking. The old agreement that you must suffer quietly while everyone else receives openly is breaking. This is not a small shift. This is a divine reset. You are going to need to sit down because the change is bigger than a simple blessing. It is not just money arriving. It is not just a door opening. It is not just one person returning or one problem ending. It is a new order forming around your life, and your old identity cannot manage it. God is changing your capacity. God is changing your discernment. God is changing your relationships. God is changing your timing. God is changing what you attract, what you accept, and what you no longer explain. Before the visible breakthrough arrives, the invisible agreement inside you must be rewritten. You cannot keep calling yourself the one who always loses. You cannot keep calling yourself the forgotten one. You cannot keep calling yourself too sensitive, too late, too damaged, or too difficult to love. Those names were never given by heaven. They were written by pain, and God is tearing them up. Listen closely. The life coming toward you will require you to stop apologizing for being chosen. Not arrogant, not loud, not prideful, just settled. There is a quiet authority rising in you, and the people who were comfortable with your confusion may not know how to respond when you stop asking permission to exist. This is why your emotions have been intense. One moment you feel peace, the next moment you feel grief. Then suddenly you feel hopeful, for no clear reason. That is because your spirit is releasing an old timeline while receiving the first signals of a new one. Let the process happen. Do not fight every feeling. Do not label every tear as weakness. Some tears are not sadness. Some tears are the soul letting go of the weight it carried because it thought carrying everything was love. God is teaching you a new kind of strength, and this strength does not require self-abandonment. You are allowed to rest before the door opens. You are allowed to be quiet before the announcement comes. You are allowed to stop explaining the transformation while you are still inside it. A seed does not apologize for being underground, and a chosen vessel does not need applause while heaven is still forming the vessel. But do not mistake rest for delay. Something is already moving. People may not see it yet, but the unseen realm has already shifted around you. Certain obstacles have lost their legal hold. Certain assignments of confusion have been cancelled. Certain connections are being redirected before they can drain the next version of you. You are not waiting for God to remember you. God has been working while you were too tired to notice. God has been arranging conversations, softening hearts, closing traps, exposing motives, and preparing a path that will make sense when the right door finally opens. You will understand soon, and when it opens, you will know why the old season could not come with you. You will know why certain people disappeared. You will know why your spirit stopped feeling at home in places you once tried to keep. God was not being cruel. He was making the change complete. So right now, place this truth in your heart. I am not being reduced. I am being prepared. I am not being forgotten. I am being positioned. I am not losing everything. I am being separated from what cannot follow me into the life God already wrote over me. If this is speaking to your spirit, do not leave this moment untouched. Write, I am ready for the shift. Let that be more than a comment. Let it be agreement. Let it be your first act of refusing the old name, the old fear, and the old story that tried to keep you small. Because in the next part, I need to show you why the delay lasted so long. There is a reason the promise did not arrive when you expected. There is a reason the pressure increased before the door opened. And once you see it clearly, you will stop blaming yourself for a season God was using to build you. The delay had a purpose, chosen one. It was not empty time. It was not wasted pain. God was doing something beneath the surface while you were asking why nothing was moving. And the part you could not see was the part that mattered most. You were not waiting for a door. You were becoming the person who could walk through it. That is why the pressure felt so personal. It touched your patience. It touched your confidence. It touched the places where you still wondered if you were truly chosen. And while you were asking God to change your situation, God was quietly changing the inner structure that would decide whether the next blessing could stay. You wanted the breakthrough sooner. Of course you did. You wanted the answer, the release, the visible proof that heaven had not forgotten your name. But God saw the hidden exhaustion. He saw the old fear. He saw the part of you that still expected loss after every promise. So he slowed the visible thing while strengthening the invisible thing. That is not punishment, that is wisdom. A blessing received too early can become pressure instead of peace, because the soul that still feels unsafe will sabotage what God sent to heal it. Heaven refused to let that happen to you. You were not denied. You were developed. You were not ignored. You were enlarged. You were not pushed aside. You were being prepared where applause could not distract you, and where people who needed the old version of you could not keep shaping your identity with their expectations. This is why you stopped feeling at home in familiar places. Your spirit was outgrowing the rooms before your feet had permission to leave them. You could hear the same voices, sit in the same spaces, and still feel like something inside you had stepped away. That was not pride. That was alignment. Somewhere along the way, the clarity you carried as a child became buried under pressure, noise, disappointment, and survival. You used to sense things quickly. You used to learn with unusual ease. You used to notice what others missed. But life trained you to doubt the very gift that made you different. That is why I will mention something briefly now and return to it later. There is an audio discovery called the Genius Song, created around the way sound can guide the brain back toward the gamma state, linked with clarity, intuition, and that bright inner focus many chosen ones once carried naturally. Do not focus on the tool yet. For now, just understand the pattern. Your fog has a history. Your heaviness has a pattern. Your scattered focus did not appear from nowhere, and your spirit has not been weak because you struggled to stay clear in a world designed to keep you distracted. God can restore what pressure tried to bury. Dr. Lake spent years studying how certain sound patterns can support the mind. But I am not bringing this up as a sales moment. I am placing a small marker in the road, because later you will understand why the restoration of your clarity is connected to the change God is preparing around you. Right now, stay with the message. God is not only changing what is around you, He is changing what inside you can recognize, receive, and protect the blessing. A confused spirit can miss an open door. A tired mind can misread a divine invitation as another burden. That is why the delay had to touch your discernment. You had to learn the difference between an opportunity and a trap. You had to learn the difference between a connection and an assignment sent to drain you. You had to learn the difference between guilt and guidance, because both can sound urgent when your heart is tired. This is a major part of the change. You cannot enter a new season with an old reflex. You cannot receive a divine upgrade while apologizing for every boundary. You cannot carry a bigger assignment while letting every needy voice pull you back into the same cycle that almost broke you. The people-pleasing had to break. The over-explaining had to break. The habit of shrinking your truth so others would not feel challenged had to break. God was not being harsh when He allowed certain relationships to become uncomfortable. He was exposing which bonds were built on love and which were built on access. You are being called higher, not noisier, not harder, higher. Higher in peace, higher in discernment, higher in self-respect, higher in obedience, higher in the way you handle silence, delay, favor, rejection, and sudden open doors. The next level will require less panic and more presence. You see, chosen one, the delay was never just about timing. It was about capacity. If God had given you the full change while you still believed you were hard to love, you might have settled for counterfeit attention. If He had opened the financial door too early, fear might have made you shrink. So He worked slowly. He worked deeply. He worked where no one clapped. He worked in the morning heaviness, the late night tears, the unanswered messages, the empty rooms, and the quiet moments where you wondered if you were behind. You were not behind. You were under construction. God is about to change everything, but first He changed what everything means to you. Once, you may have called attention love. Now you know love has fruit. Once, you may have called busyness purpose. Now you know purpose has peace. Once, you may have called delay failure. Now you know delay can be protection. That is the reframe heaven wants you to hold. Delay is not always resistance. Sometimes delay is divine editing. Sometimes God removes the wrong sentence before writing the next chapter. Sometimes He pauses the visible promise because He is correcting the hidden agreement you made with fear years ago. Those agreements are being broken now. not by force, not by shame, by revelation. When truth enters, old contracts lose power. When light touches the hidden place, fear cannot keep pretending to be protection. This is why this message feels personal. It is reaching the exact room where the old identity has been hiding. God is not asking you to become someone else. He is asking you to stop protecting the false self-pain created. The real you was never small. The real you was never powerless. The real you was never meant to beg for scraps of affection from people who could only love you when you forgot your calling. This is where many chosen ones misunderstand the transition. They think God is only preparing a new door, but God is also preparing a new response. The old you would run toward anything that looked like relief. The new you waits for peace. The old you confused urgency with God. The new you tests the spirit. Your next season will not be built on panic. It will be built on obedience. It will not be built on begging. It will be built on receiving. It will not be built on chasing people who cannot see you. It will be built on alignment with the one who formed you before anyone misunderstood you. Now carry this into the next part. God has used this pattern before. He has hidden vessels before lifting them. He has sent future kings into fields, prophets into wilderness, and dreamers into pits before placing them in rooms of authority. Once you see that pattern clearly, your fear will start losing its voice. Now see the pattern clearly, chosen one. God has never rushed the preparation of a vessel He plans to use with weight. He does not build shallow foundations for heavy assignments. He does not place holy oil on a life and then leave that life unchanged. Before the visible shift comes, the vessel is always separated, tested, emptied, and strengthened. Moses did not step into his calling from comfort. He was pulled away from the palace. He was sent into the wilderness. He lived in a place where old identity could fall off him slowly. And while it looked like obscurity to everyone else, heaven was teaching him how to carry authority without being ruled by fear. David was anointed before he was crowned. That matters. The oil touched his head long before the throne touched his life. He went back to fields, sheep, silence, and hidden battles after the prophet spoke over him, because God was shaping a king before people were ready to recognize one. Joseph carried dreams before he carried influence. His gift made him misunderstood. His own family could not handle what God had shown him. Then came the pit. Then came the prison. Then came years where the promise looked buried, but God was using every unjust place to train him for a room of authority. Do you see it now? The chosen vessel is rarely celebrated while being prepared. The chosen vessel is often misunderstood first. Heaven hides what it plans to reveal later, because premature exposure can attract hands that want to use the gift without honoring the God who placed it there. That is why your hidden season did not mean you were small. It meant you were protected. That is why the rejection hurt so deeply, but also saved you from rooms that could not carry your future. God was not just removing people. He was removing the wrong witnesses from the next chapter of your life. Esther was hidden before she was positioned. Ruth was stripped of an old life before she stepped into a divine connection. Elijah was fed in isolation before he stood with fire in his voice. The pattern is ancient. God prepares people in places that feel quiet, because quiet places reveal what applause can hide. So do not curse the wilderness. The wilderness was not your enemy. It was the classroom where God taught you how to hear without distraction. It was the altar where false attachments burned away. It was the place where you learned that being alone with God is safer than being surrounded by people who pull you out of alignment. The world calls it isolation. Heaven calls it consecration. The world calls it delay. Heaven calls it formation. The world calls it losing people. Heaven calls it divine separation. You were not being emptied because your future was empty. You were being emptied because your future needed room. This is the spiritual mechanism many people miss. God changes the atmosphere around a chosen one by first changing the agreement inside the chosen one. If your inner world still agrees with fear, fear keeps shaping your choices. If your inner world agrees with heaven, your choices begin to match the promise. That is why alignment matters. Alignment is not a mood. It is not a nice feeling. Alignment is when your thoughts, your boundaries, your obedience, and your expectation stop fighting the word God already spoke over you. When that happens, your life starts refusing what used to feel normal. You may have noticed that refusal rising in you. You cannot pretend as easily now. You cannot force smiles in places where your spirit feels grieved. You cannot keep carrying conversations that leave you feeling unclean inside. You cannot keep saying yes when your whole being is whispering, "This is not your assignment." Many chosen ones confuse exhaustion with holiness. They think being drained means they are useful. They think being needed means they are loved. But God is correcting that belief in you now. He is showing you that your assignment will require strength, and strength cannot grow where every voice has access to your inner altar. That is why boundaries are becoming holy to you. That is why silence is becoming precious. That is why certain calls, messages, and invitations no longer pull you the same way. You are not becoming selfish. You are becoming stewarded. You are learning that what God placed inside you must be protected. And this is where the spiritual and the mental begin to touch. Your mind has been under pressure for a long time. Your thoughts have been crowded. Your attention has been pulled in 100 directions, and when a chosen one loses inner clarity, even a divine door can feel like another demand. Researchers have studied how sound can guide the brain into different states, and this matters because your spiritual sensitivity was never designed to live beneath constant mental noise. Dr. Lake focused on how certain sound patterns may support the gamma state, that bright state linked with focus, insight, and sudden inner clarity. This is why I mentioned the Genius song earlier, and why I will return to it more deeply later. Not as a distraction from what God is saying, but as a practical bridge for chosen ones who feel that their clarity has been buried under years of pressure. Your spirit may be awake while your mind still feels foggy. Stay with this. The point is not a tool right now. The point is the pattern. God restores the vessel in layers. He touches the spirit. He steadies the mind. He clears the noise. He trains the body not to panic every time peace arrives, because many chosen ones have lived so long in survival that peace can feel unfamiliar. You may know that feeling. A good thing starts to happen, and part of you waits for it to disappear. Someone treats you with kindness, and part of you looks for the hidden cost. A door opens, and part of you wonders if you are about to be embarrassed for believing again. That is not weakness. That is old survival, reacting to new mercy. But God is healing the reflex. He is teaching your nervous system, your thoughts, and your spirit to recognize blessing without suspicion. He is making you capable of staying peaceful when the thing you prayed for finally becomes real. Think of David again. If David had entered the throne before the field, the cave, and the battle with Goliath, the crown could have crushed him. The field taught patience. The cave taught dependence. The giant taught courage. Nothing was wasted. Every place trained a different part of the king. This matters because the next change will come with choices. Not every open door will be yours. Not every returning person will be safe. Not every sudden offer will be divine. Your gift is not only receiving, your gift is discerning. God is sharpening that gift before the next wave arrives. So prepare your heart. The next part will go deeper. We are going to name the hidden blocker that kept you in the waiting room long after heaven had already begun preparing your exit. And once that lie is exposed, it will not be able to rule your choices the same way again. Now we must speak the part that most people avoid, chosen one. The enemy was not only attacking your circumstances, the enemy was attacking the way you saw yourself inside those circumstances. Because if your identity could be bent, your choices would follow. If your name inside your own heart could be weakened, your future would look too heavy to receive. This is the hidden blocker. It was not that God forgot the promise. It was not that heaven lost the address of your life. It was not that the door was impossible. The hidden blocker was the old agreement inside you that kept saying, maybe this much pain means I should expect less. You did not choose that agreement because you were weak. You chose it because disappointment kept teaching you to brace. You learned to lower hope before hope could embarrass you. You learned to expect silence before silence could wound you again, and you learned to call survival wisdom because survival was all you had for so long. But God is breaking that agreement now, not by shaming you, not by accusing you. He is breaking it by showing you the truth. You were never created to live in constant defense. You were never meant to treat every good thing like a trap. You were never meant to shrink before the blessing arrived. This is why the change has felt uncomfortable. God is not only removing old people, He is removing old reflexes. He is not only closing old doors, He is closing the inner courtroom where you kept sentencing yourself to less than what heaven already approved. That courtroom is losing power. You have been calling yourself patient, but some of that patience was fear in a holy costume. You have been calling yourself humble, but some of that humility was the habit of hiding so nobody would challenge your light. You have been calling yourself realistic, but some of that realism was pain pretending to be wisdom. Do not turn away from this. This is the moment. The old story cannot come with you. The version of you that believed rejection was normal cannot manage divine favor. The version of you that needed to be chosen by people cannot carry the peace of already being chosen by God. You needed to sit down because heaven is not asking you to add one blessing to the same old identity. Heaven is announcing a complete exchange. The old name is coming off. The old fear is coming off. The old agreement with delay is coming off. God is not decorating your cage. He is opening the door. This is bigger than what you prayed for. You prayed for relief. God is giving you release. You prayed for an answer. God is giving you authority. You prayed for one door to open, but God is changing the part of you that kept standing outside doors you were already qualified to enter. The enemy wanted you tired enough to misread the season. He wanted you to think the waiting room was your permanent address. He wanted you to believe your sensitivity was a defect, your silence was failure, and your loneliness was proof that you were not loved. But every one of those lies is being exposed. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not too strange. You are not too hard to love. You are not too old, too behind, too emotional, or too broken for God to use. Those labels were forged in pain, but they were never written by heaven. Here is the truth. Your old life is not strong enough to follow you where God is taking you. Your old mindset cannot hold the weight. Your old fear cannot interpret the door. Your old attachment to being misunderstood cannot survive the clarity that is about to rise in you. That is why certain relationships suddenly feel expired. That is why certain conversations feel like noise. That is why some places feel smaller than they used to feel. It is not because you are better than anyone. It is because your assignment has outgrown the environment that trained you to doubt it. God is changing everything by changing what no longer has permission to define you. The betrayal no longer defines you. The delay no longer defines you. The rejection no longer defines you. The years you cried in private no longer define you. They shaped strength, but they do not own your name. You are a chosen vessel. You are a cycle breaker. You are a watchman. You are a carrier of light in rooms that tried to make you feel invisible. You are not being invited into arrogance. You are being restored to holy identity because false humility has stolen enough from your life. Now listen with your whole spirit. The change coming is not just external, it is structural. God is changing your capacity to receive without panic. He is changing your discernment so you stop opening your heart to every familiar voice. He is changing your expectations so you stop rehearsing loss before love can arrive. He is changing your relationship with peace. You used to feel suspicious when things were calm. You used to wait for the next problem. You used to think rest meant something bad was about to happen because chaos trained your body to treat quiet like a warning. But peace is becoming safe again. He is changing your relationship with favor. You used to feel guilty when good things came too easily. You used to wonder who would be upset if you finally rose. You used to shrink your joy so other people would not feel exposed by it. But your blessing is not an apology. He is changing your relationship with boundaries. You used to feel cruel for saying no. You used to feel responsible for every emotion around you. You used to confuse compassion with self-abandonment because you were praised for being useful but rarely protected for being human. That pattern is ending now. This is the divine reset. Not a small adjustment, not a mood shift, not a temporary encouragement. God is rewiring the way you stand inside your own life, so when the visible change arrives, you will not hand it back to fear, guilt, confusion, or counterfeit comfort. There are doors that cannot open until you stop needing approval from people who never had authority over your calling. There are connections that cannot arrive until you stop chasing shadows of old pain. There are opportunities that cannot stay until you stop treating yourself like an uninvited guest in your own promise. That is why this message feels like a confrontation. It is not here to wound you. It is here to separate you from the voice that sounded like you but was never truly yours. The voice that said, "Do not expect too much," was not humility. It was trauma wearing a mask. Heaven is pulling off the mask. Heaven is naming the lie. Heaven is restoring the sound of your true self. The true self does not beg for scraps. The true self does not shrink from favor. The true self does not apologize for being led, protected, corrected, and elevated by God. You are not being asked to force anything. You are being asked to agree with what heaven already decided. Agreement matters. When you agree with fear, fear trains your behavior. When you agree with rejection, rejection trains your expectations. But when you agree with God, your whole life begins to move differently. Say it inside your spirit. I am not the old version anymore. I am not the waiting room anymore. I am not the delay anymore. I am not the disappointment anymore. I am not the abandoned one anymore. I am not the forgotten one anymore. I am the one God kept alive for this. This is the moment the old agreement breaks. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Every time your mind tries to drag you back into the former story, answer it with truth. I was hidden, not rejected. I was trained, not ignored. I was protected, not punished. I was prepared, not postponed. And this is why everything is about to change. Because the inner contract has changed. The old permission has been revoked. The lie that kept you small no longer has legal access to your next decision. Heaven is not just sending you a door. Heaven is making you ready to walk through it. You needed to sit down for this, because standing inside an old identity while receiving a new announcement would have confused you. You might have called the blessing too big. You might have called yourself unready. You might have searched for a reason to delay again. But God is removing that escape route. The announcement is this: your old life cannot carry your new assignment. Your old fear cannot interpret your new peace. Your old wound cannot choose your new relationships. Your old survival pattern cannot manage your new favor. God is changing everything because He is changing who gets to speak inside you. From this point forward, the voice of fear loses volume. The voice of rejection loses volume. The voice of comparison loses volume. The voice of shame loses volume. And the voice of God rises clearer, steadier, warmer, and stronger in the place where confusion used to sit. Now the question becomes simple. Can you receive a life that no longer matches your old pain? Can you let God be kinder to you than your past was? Can you stop calling yourself unworthy just because unworthy people mishandled you? Can you stand still long enough to let peace prove itself? This is where the next step matters, because once the lie is exposed, the vessel must be restored. Your spirit has heard the truth, but your mind has been under years of noise. Your calling is alive, but your clarity needs protection. Your next season needs more than emotion. It needs restored focus. That is why I am going to guide you carefully in the next part. Not with pressure, not with fear, not with loud promises. I will show you the practical restoration tool I marked earlier and why it connects to the clarity, focus, and inner alignment God is bringing back to chosen ones in this season. Stay here. Do not drift now. The lie has been named, but the agreement must be sealed. The next part will show you how to step forward without carrying the fog of the old season and how to protect the change God has already begun inside you. Now that the lie has been named, chosen one, the vessel must be restored. Your spirit has heard the truth. Your identity has been called forward, but your mind has carried years of noise, pressure, disappointment, and survival. God is changing everything, and the next step is learning how to protect the clarity He is bringing back. This is why I marked that audio discovery earlier. The Genius song is not something I mentioned lightly. I am bringing it back here because it fits the exact place many chosen ones are standing in right now. Your spirit is awake, but your focus has been scattered. Your calling is alive, but your mind has been tired. Dr. Lake studied how sound patterns can guide the brain toward the gamma state, the bright state linked with deep focus, insight, intuition, and sudden understanding. Researchers connected with places like MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other leading research universities have explored how the brain responds to rhythm, frequency, and guided sound. Think about what that means for a chosen vessel. You were born with unusual sensitivity. You noticed what others ignored. You sensed shifts before people explained them. But life trained you to live under stress, and constant pressure can bury the very clarity God placed inside you for discernment. The Genius song was created as a 7-minute audio track you listen to with headphones. No complicated ritual, no long practice, no forcing your mind to be silent for an hour. Just 7 minutes where sound is used to support the mind as it moves toward a clearer and more focused state. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about recovering what pressure covered. It is about helping the mind quiet enough for the spirit to hear again. And for many chosen ones, that matters deeply because the next season will require clear decisions, clean discernment, and the ability to notice a divine door without calling it another burden. One woman, a teacher in Texas, spent years pouring into everyone else while feeling like her own mind was running far below its true strength. After using the audio for a few weeks, she described ideas returning with ease, and a decision she had delayed for a long time finally became clear in one morning. Another person had been carrying job pressure for a long season. He was not lacking ability, he was lacking sharpness. His thoughts felt cloudy when he needed to speak with confidence. After using the track for a short time, he said the change was not just on paper, it was in the way his mind finally showed up again. That is why this connects to this message. God is changing your life, but He is also restoring your ability to recognize the change. A cloudy mind can stand in front of an open door and still question if it belongs there. A clear mind can pause, breathe, and know when heaven is saying, step forward. Most people try to fix this with more effort. They download another meditation app for around $15 a month. They consider growth courses that can cost $100 to $200. Some people look at retreats that cost hundreds, and some turn to therapy sessions that can cost around $150 each. There are also professional options like biofeedback sessions that can cost around $300 a visit. Those things may help people in different ways, but most of them are not built specifically around supporting gamma. That is why this audio matters. It is simple, direct, digital, and focused on a very specific kind of inner restoration. Dr. Lake originally set the track at $49. But for people coming through this message, the price is $39 one time. Not a monthly subscription, not a shipping fee, not a product you wait weeks to receive. It is digital, which means it is sent directly so you can begin when you are ready. And there is more included with it. You receive 4 bonuses with a combined value of $80. There is a child-focused audio valued at $19, a classic wealth book valued at $20, a guided visualization valued at $29, and a 5-habit guide valued at $12. So the value is not only the main audio, it includes the support tools around it. The bonuses help you apply the shift across your life, your focus, your daily rhythm, and even the next generation if you have children or care for young minds. It is built to feel practical, not overwhelming. There is also a 90-day money-back guarantee. That means you can use it, listen to it, test it in your real life, and if you feel it is not for you, you can ask for a full refund. No complicated return is needed because it is digital. And even then, you keep all 4 bonuses. That matters because the risk is removed. The worst case is not loss. The worst case is that you still keep $80 in bonus value while learning whether this tool fits your season. And the best case is that your clarity begins returning at the exact time God is changing everything around you. Over 18,366 people have used this audio, and the refund rate is framed at under 4%. That means most people keep using it after they have the chance to test it. I say that because a chosen one should not be pushed by hype. A chosen one should be guided by trust. Now I need to protect you. There are fake pages and copied versions using similar names. Some of them are just ordinary sounds. Some do not include the real brain entrainment technology, the 4 bonuses, or the guarantee. Do not search for it on Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, or random websites. The only path I trust is the one placed in the description and the pinned comment. Use that path only, not because of pressure, but because protection matters. If you are going to step toward a restoration tool, receive the real one, with the full track, the full bonuses, and the full guarantee. Pause for a moment. Put your hand over your chest. Take one slow breath. This is not a decision about $39. This is a question of whether you are ready to stop living as if fog, delay, and confusion have the final word over your mind. If your spirit says yes, you will know what to do. The path is in the description and the pinned comment. Do not force it. Do not panic. Just move with peace. If this is for you, your next step will feel simple, steady, and clear. Now let this be sealed. God is not only giving you information, He is calling your life into a new order. The old season cannot name you anymore. The old fear cannot lead you anymore. The old confusion cannot keep sitting in the place where divine clarity belongs. Say this with your spirit. I release the old capacity. I release the old fog. I release the fear that made me question every blessing before it arrived. I release the habit of calling myself unworthy just because people who lacked vision could not recognize what God placed inside me. I receive the change God prepared for me. I receive clarity. I receive peace. I receive discernment. I receive the courage to stand still when heaven tells me to wait, and the courage to step forward when heaven opens the door. I am not the abandoned one. I am not the delayed one. I am not the forgotten one. I am not the person pain tried to name. I am a chosen vessel. I am a cycle breaker. I am a watchman of the next season. I am ready for what God is changing. Every old agreement with fear is broken. Every false label is removed. Every counterfeit voice loses authority. Every trap prepared against my next season is exposed before I enter it. Every door God opens will recognize me, and every door God closes will no longer hold my heart hostage. I will not chase what God removed. I will not shrink when favor arrives. I will not apologize for the peace I prayed for. I will not mistake my wilderness for my destiny. I will not call myself behind when heaven has been preparing me in secret. God is changing my capacity. God is changing my discernment. God is changing my relationships. God is changing my timing. God is changing what I accept, what I refuse, what I notice, and what I no longer explain to people who only understood the smaller version of me. Let the old story end here. Let the fog lift here. Let the shame lose its voice here. Let the delay lose its name here. Let the chosen vessel rise with humility, wisdom, protection, and holy confidence. I receive the change. I receive the new order. I receive the life God prepared. If this message reached the hidden place in you, write, I receive the change. Let it be your seal. Let it be your agreement. Let it be the moment you stop rehearsing the old ending and begin standing inside the new beginning God has already started. And if another chosen one has been questioning the delay, share this with them, not for attention, not for noise. Send it as a reminder that heaven still speaks in the quiet. God is changing everything, and this time you will not miss the shift.